James, a devoted husband and successful architect, receives a call from his wife, Caitlin, who tells him in tears about a robbery. But when the truth comes out, he discovers a betrayal that breaks his heart. Will James be able to unravel the web of lies and achieve justice while maintaining his dignity? James, a 38-year-old architect in Seattle, was sketching the final touches on a client's dream home when his phone buzzed sharply, cutting through the quiet hum of his home office. It was his wife, Caitlin, her voice trembling with panic. "James, I've been robbed," she sobbed, her words broken by gasps. She explained that after a business meeting in Portland, a man had snatched her purse, taking her cash, wedding ring, and the diamond earrings James had given her for their 10th anniversary. Her distress was palpable, and James felt his chest tighten. "Are you okay? Did he hurt you?" he asked, gripping the phone. Caitlin assured him she was unharmed, just shaken, and her phone, tucked in her back pocket, had gone unnoticed by the thief. She'd already filed a police report, but the officers warned that recovering stolen items was unlikely. She planned to stay in Portland to finish her work commitments. James, steadying his voice, urged her to stay safe and promised to support her through it. But as he hung up, a nagging unease settled in. Her tone, though tearful, had an odd calm, almost rehearsed. He pushed the thought aside, chalking it up to shock. Over the next few days, James tried to focus on his designs, but Caitlin's call replayed in his mind. The loss of the ring and earrings, symbols of their decade together, stung deeply. He called to check on her, and she sounded composed, mentioning she was navigating work meetings and filing insurance claims for the stolen items. Her resilience impressed him, yet something felt off. Why hadn't she mentioned the police report details again? Why did she seem so unshaken now? James decided to give her space, trusting her strength and their bond. After all, Caitlin had always been independent, juggling her marketing career with ease. When Caitlin returned home 4 days later, James was relieved to see her step through the door, her usual confidence intact. She hugged him tightly, thanking him for his support. But as they sat over coffee, he noticed her skin carried a golden tan, unusual for a work trip filled with meetings. Portland was sunny, she explained with a light laugh. "I took walks during breaks to clear my head." It made sense. Caitlin loved fresh air to de-stress. Yet the tan, paired with her breezy demeanor, sparked a flicker of doubt. She'd just been through a traumatic robbery. Shouldn't she be more rattled? James asked about the police report, and she waved it off, saying she'd handled everything and was moving forward. Her nonchalance felt like a wall, subtle but firm. That evening, as Caitlin sorted through her emails, James watched her from across the room. Her fingers moved quickly over her laptop, her focus unwavering. She mentioned another trip in a week, a longer one, 10 days, for a major client pitch. James nodded, but his mind churned. Why was she so quick to travel again after such an ordeal? He offered to help with the insurance paperwork, but she declined, insisting she had it under control. Her independence, once a trait he admired, now felt like a shield. The next morning, a call shattered the fragile trust James had clung to. A polite voice from the Seaside Haven, a luxury resort in Portland, introduced himself as a staff member. "We found an item in Ms. Caitlin's suite," he said. "A men's watch, left in a drawer." James froze. Caitlin didn't wear watches, and she'd never mentioned staying at a resort. Only a standard hotel for work. The dates matched her robbery trip. "Are you sure it was her?" he asked, his voice tight. The employee confirmed her name and check-in details, adding casually, "It's a men's watch, quite expensive." James thanked him, promising to follow up, and hung up. His pulse raced. A men's watch? A resort? The pieces didn't fit her story. He stared at his phone, the weight of doubt now impossible to ignore. Something was wrong, and James knew he couldn't let it go. The call from Seaside Haven lingered in James's mind like a splinter, sharp and impossible to ignore. Caitlin had never mentioned a resort, only a budget hotel for her Portland meetings. A men's watch? The detail gnawed at him. He paced his Seattle home office, the blueprints on his desk forgotten. Caitlin was due back from her latest work trip in 2 days, and James needed answers. He dialed her company, a marketing firm she'd worked at for years, to check if her schedule aligned with her story. The receptionist's voice was polite but blunt. "Caitlin hasn't worked here since January." 4 months ago. James's stomach dropped. She'd been leaving the house daily, laptop in hand, talking about client pitches and deadlines. Where was she going? Where was she hiding? He sat, staring at his phone, replaying her robbery story. The tearful call about the stolen ring and earrings, his anniversary gift, had felt so real. But the tan, her calm demeanor, and now this lie about her job? The pieces didn't add up. James opened their joint bank account online, something he rarely checked, trusting Caitlin with their finances. Scrolling through transactions, he noticed a pattern. Small, frequent withdrawals, $50 here, $100 there, adding up to thousands over months. None matched her usual expenses. His pulse quickened. Was she funneling money somewhere? For what? Determined to dig deeper, James searched through Caitlin's travel bag while she was still away. Tucked in a side pocket, he found a crumpled receipt from a Portland pawn shop, dated days after the alleged robbery. It listed a sale, diamond earrings, and a gold ring, matching the exact description of her stolen jewelry. The payout was in cash, over $3,000. His hand shook as he read it again. Caitlin hadn't been robbed. She'd sold the items herself. The betrayal cut deeper than the lie. Those were gifts he'd chosen with care, symbols of their decade together. Why would she do this? What was the money for? James called the pawn shop, posing as a concerned husband verifying transaction. The clerk confirmed Caitlin had come in person, alone, and left with cash. No hesitation, no distress, just business. James hung up, his mind racing. The robbery was a fabrication, a cover for something bigger. The men's watch at the resort flashed in his thoughts. Was there someone else? The idea felt like a punch, but he couldn't dismiss it. He needed proof, not just suspicions. A friend had once mentioned a private investigator, Laura, known for discretion. James called her, explaining the robbery lie, the watch, the job deception, and the mysterious withdrawals. Laura agreed to tail Caitlin on her upcoming 10-day work trip to San Francisco, promising photos, videos, and a detailed report. While waiting for Laura's findings, James kept up appearances. When Caitlin returned, she greeted him with a warm hug, chatting about her Portland meetings as if nothing was amiss. Her golden tan was even more pronounced, and she laughed it off again, saying San Francisco's sunny vibe had her walking more than usual. James nodded, masking his unease, and asked about her next trip. A big client pitch, she said, her voice smooth. I'll be gone 10 days, maybe more. He didn't push, but her casual confidence felt like a taunt. That night, as she slept, James checked her phone, something he'd never done before. A locked app caught his eye, one he didn't recognize, requiring a passcode. His gut twisted. What else was she hiding? The next day, Laura sent an initial update. Caitlin had checked into a boutique hotel in San Francisco, not the corporate one she'd mentioned. She was seen dining at an upscale restaurant, alone for now, but Laura promised to keep watching. James felt a mix of dread and resolve. Each clue, the pawn shop receipt, the bank withdrawals, the resort watch, the fake job, pointed to a double life. He wasn't just fighting for answers. He was fighting for the truth about the woman he thought he knew. As Caitlin packed for her next trip, humming lightly, James watched her, his heart heavy, but his mind clear. Whatever Laura uncovered, he was ready to face it, no matter how much it hurt. That James's heart pounded as Laura's email arrived. The subject line stark, San Francisco update. The private investigator's initial report had already confirmed Caitlin wasn't staying at the corporate hotel she claimed. Now, with Caitlin still away on her 10-day work trip, James opened the email, bracing for what he might find. Laura's message was concise. Caitlin had been spotted at a beachfront cafe in San Francisco, laughing and holding hands with a man. Attached were photos, grainy but unmistakable. James's breath caught as he recognized the man. Nate, his best friend since college, the one who'd stood by him at his wedding, who'd shared countless late-night talks about dreams and family. The betrayal hit like a tidal wave, sharper than Caitlin's lies. Nate, of all people, the photos showed Caitlin and Nate strolling along the pier, their ease with each other painfully clear. One image captured them sharing a lingering kiss outside a boutique hotel. Laura's notes detailed their routine. Dinners at upscale restaurants, late-night walks, and check-ins at a luxury suite under Caitlin's name. James scrolled through the evidence, each image tightening the knot in his chest. The men's watch from the Portland resort now made sickening sense. It was likely Nate's. Laura promised more updates, but James already had enough to confirm his worst fears. Caitlin wasn't just lying about her job or the robbery. She was living a double life with his closest friend. He closed his laptop, the weight of the truth pressing down. James had trusted Nate with his deepest confidences, from his fears about work to his hopes for starting a family with Caitlin. Now, those moments felt tainted. He recalled a recent dinner where Nate had seemed distracted, dodging questions about his own life. Had he been hiding this all along? James's mind raced back to Caitlin's robbery story, the sold jewelry, the secret withdrawals. The cash, thousands siphoned from their joint account, was likely funding these secret getaways. He checked the bank records again, spotting a new withdrawal, $500, made yesterday from an ATM near the San Francisco hotel. The pattern was undeniable. Desperate for more clarity, James called Laura, asking her to dig deeper into Caitlin and Nate's movements. She agreed to track their digital footprints, social media, reservations, anything that could reveal how long this had been going on. Meanwhile, James scoured Caitlin's laptop, left behind in her rush to pack. Using a password she'd once shared for a shared account, he accessed her email. Buried in a folder labeled Work, he found confirmations for hotel bookings, dinner reservations, and even a spa day, all in San Francisco, all during her business trips over the past 6 months. One email, from an unfamiliar address, was a forwarded itinerary for a weekend in Napa Valley, addressed to Nate. The date was 3 months ago, during a trip Caitlin had called a quick client meeting. James's resolve hardened. He couldn't confront Caitlin yet, not without airtight evidence. He contacted a lawyer, Thomas, recommended for his expertise in family law. Over the phone, James shared the robbery lie, the pawnshop receipt, the bank withdrawals, and Laura's photos. Thomas listened, then outlined a plan. If Caitlin's actions constituted marital infidelity and financial deceit, James could file for divorce on grounds of culpable dissolution, protecting his assets. The lawyer advised gathering more proof to strengthen the case, especially since Caitlin had used joint funds. James agreed, asking Thomas to prepare for a swift filing once Laura's final report arrived. As Caitlin's trip neared its end, James maintained his routine, responding to her texts with neutral replies. She sent updates about meetings, unaware he knew the truth. Laura's next report arrived the day before Caitlin's return. A video clip of Caitlin and Nate at a winery, clinking glasses, her laughter echoing. The report also included receipts tying their hotel stays to Caitlin's credit card, linked to their joint account. James saved every file, his anger tempered by a cold determination. He wasn't just fighting for his marriage. He was fighting to reclaim his life from the lies. As Caitlin's flight landed, James steeled himself. The truth was coming, and he'd make sure it hit with the force it deserved. That James's phone buzzed with Caitlin's text, landing in Seattle tonight. Can't wait to see you. The words, once a comfort, now felt like a mockery. Laura's evidence, photos of Caitlin and Nate kissing, receipts tying their secret trips to joint funds, and a video of their carefree winery date, burned in James's mind. The betrayal by his wife and best friend wasn't just personal. It was a calculated unraveling of his trust. He'd spent days piecing together the scope of Caitlin's lies. The fake robbery, the sold jewelry, the hidden withdrawals, and a double life spanning months. Now, with her return imminent, James decided confrontation wasn't enough. He wanted the truth exposed publicly, undeniable, and in front of those who believed in their perfect marriage. He devised a plan, a family dinner, framed as a celebration of Caitlin's career success. It would be the stage to unveil her deception, ensuring she and Nate faced the consequences without room for excuses. James called Caitlin's parents, inviting them to honor their daughter's recent achievements. They agreed eagerly, unaware of the storm brewing. Next, he contacted his own parents, who confirmed with enthusiasm, reminiscing about past family gatherings. Finally, he called Nate. His friend's voice was casual, almost smug, as he claimed a work conference might keep him away. James insisted, his tone firm but neutral, saying the family wanted him there. Nate relented, promising to show. James hung up, his jaw tight, knowing Nate's presence would seal the reckoning. Laura's final report arrived that afternoon, a damning dossier. It included a timeline of Caitlin and Nate's rendezvous, stretching back 8 months, with hotel bookings in Portland, San Francisco, and Napa Valley. A new detail emerged. An email exchange where Caitlin discussed transferring $10,000 from their joint account to a separate one James didn't know existed. The account was in her name, opened 3 months ago. The money, Laura noted, funded their latest trip. James forwarded the report to Thomas, his lawyer, who confirmed the evidence strengthened their case for culpable dissolution of marriage. Thomas prepared a divorce petition, citing infidelity and financial fraud, and filed a motion to freeze their joint accounts to prevent further withdrawals. "You're in a strong position," Thomas said. "The judge will see this as deliberate betrayal." James spent the day organizing the dinner. He compiled Laura's photos, videos, and receipts into a slideshow, set to play on the living room TV. He tested the setup, ensuring every image, Caitlin and Nate laughing, embracing, toasting, would display clearly. The evidence was irrefutable, a raw chronicle of their deceit. He didn't want a shouting match or tearful denials. He wanted the truth to speak for itself, leaving no doubt for their families. As he saved the files, Caitlin texted again, "Just boarded. Home soon." James didn't reply. Her oblivious cheer fueled his resolve. That evening, Caitlin walked through the door, her suitcase rolling behind her. She hugged James, chatting about her exhausting but productive trip. He nodded, keeping his voice steady, and mentioned the dinner plan for tomorrow. "A celebration for you," he said, watching her smile widen. "That's so sweet," she replied, unaware of the trap. As she unpacked, James noticed a new bracelet on her wrist, a delicate silver band, unlike anything he'd given her. "Gift from a client," she said when he asked, her tone too quick. James didn't press, but the lie added fuel to his plan. The next morning, James finalized details with Thomas, who confirmed the account freeze was in place. He also spoke to Laura, who offered to testify if needed, her evidence airtight. As the dinner hour approached, James felt a strange calm. The pain of Caitlin's betrayal, compounded by Nate's disloyalty, had hardened into purpose. He wasn't just exposing their lies. He was reclaiming his life. As he set the table, his phone pinged with a final message from Laura, a photo of Caitlin and Nate checking out of the San Francisco hotel that morning, hand in hand. James saved it to the slideshow, the last piece of his case. The dinner would be no celebration. It would be a revelation, and he was ready to let the truth dismantle their facade. The dining room buzzed with laughter as Caitlin's parents toasted her career milestone. James's parents swapped stories with Nate, who leaned back, all easy charm, unaware of the storm about to break. James stood at the head of the table, his pulse steady despite the weight of what was coming. He'd spent months unraveling Caitlin's lies, the fake robbery, the sold jewelry, the secret bank account, and her affair with Nate, his best friend. Tonight, the truth would unravel their facade in front of everyone who mattered. "Before we eat," James said, raising his voice, "I've got a surprise for Caitlin." He grabbed the remote, his hand steady, and pressed play. The TV flickered to life, and the room fell silent. The first image hit like a thunderclap. Caitlin and Nate, hand in hand on a San Francisco pier, smiling as if the world was theirs. Then another, them kissing outside a boutique hotel. A video followed, their laughter echoing from a winery, glasses clinking. Gasps rippled through the room. Caitlin's fork clattered to her plate, her face frozen in shock. Nate shifted, his chair scraping, but James's voice cut through. "There's more." The screen showed receipts, the pawn stolen, earrings and ring, hotel bookings, and bank statements detailing $10,000 siphoned to Caitlin's secret account. The final image, Caitlin and Nate checking out of their hotel that morning, sealed the truth. No one spoke. The weight of betrayal filled the silence. Caitlin stammered, "It's not what it looks like," but her voice cracked under the evidence's clarity. Nate stood, mumbling about needing air, but James's father blocked his path. "Sit down," he said, his tone icy. "You owe us an explanation." Nate sank back, avoiding James's gaze. Caitlin's parents stared at their daughter, their pride replaced by disbelief. James's mother clutched her husband's arm, her eyes welling up. James kept his composure, letting the images speak. "You lied about the robbery, your job, our money," he said to Caitlin. "And you," he turned to Nate, "betrayed me after 20 years of friendship." Neither responded. Caitlin's hands covered her face. Nate stared at the floor. The families left in stunned silence. Caitlin's parents walked out without a word, their disappointment palpable. James's parents lingered, his father gripping his shoulder. "You did what you had to," he said before they departed. Nate slipped out last, muttering no apologies, his footsteps fading down the drive. James turned to Caitlin, alone now at the table. "You have 1 hour to pack and leave," he said, his voice firm but calm. She nodded, tears streaming, and shuffled to gather her things. James didn't watch. He stepped outside, the cool Seattle air grounding him, and called Thomas, his lawyer. "It's done," he said. Thomas confirmed the divorce petition was filed, the account freeze holding, and the evidence airtight. An hour later, James returned to an empty house. Caitlin was gone, leaving no note, no trace, only the echo of her betrayal. In the weeks that followed, Thomas presented the case in court. The judge, reviewing Laura's reports, bank records, and receipts, ruled in James's favor. Caitlin's infidelity and financial fraud justified a culpable dissolution of marriage. James kept the house, their savings, and most assets, while Caitlin walked away with little, her reputation shattered among family and friends. Nate, once a fixture in their circle, vanished from their lives, his silence louder than any excuse. James rebuilt slowly. He threw himself into his architecture work, designing homes that felt like fresh starts. The pain of losing his wife and best friend lingered, but it fueled his resolve. He reconnected with old friends, joined a hiking group, and found solace in Seattle's trails. The truth, though brutal, had freed him. Caitlin's lies and Nate's betrayal couldn't undo his strength. As he sketched a new project one evening, his phone buzzed, a client's thank you note for a job well done. James smiled, knowing he'd not only survived but reclaimed his life with dignity intact.